Hey guys, it's Jay with the Douchebag Brigade doing another Dragon Ball based content video. Again, I'm not a Dragon Ball content provider at this point, just kind of throwing a couple things together that I think the whole Dragon Ball community, from geekdom to MJ, that all these different guys in between, I think should maybe take a look at. People have been discussing with different content creators, why don't you put your spin on GT to make it work? Or what would you change in GT in order to make it better? Here's the thing. I think people can think about it all they want, and a lot of these guys are going to probably put their spin on it because it's a highly requested video. I've seen it in comments. I've seen it. I've heard it. I've seen videos of people wanting this. The problem with this, in my opinion, comes down to the fact that did anybody really watch Dragon Ball GT and care? I was a huge Dragon Ball Z fan. I liked Dragon Ball, but Z kind of solidified it for me, I guess, because I was a Vegeta fan. And that's what I saw first as a kid. So, I had my opinion shaped from that. But when GT started and finally came to Toonami, I was excited to see it. I was still young, really young. And I just couldn't get into it. It was like a return to the original Dragon Ball, but with all kinds of weird power scaling issues and uninteresting characters and fights that weren't exciting. It's like and then they nerfed Goku's power just to make him just as powerful a bit later. What was the point? I thought we were going to get a grand story about a grand tour, as you'd like to call it, about Trunks and Pan. These were two interesting characters. Everyone loved Trunks because of Future Trunks, and Pan was Gohan's kid. So it was like let's get a real view of what these characters can do. But then when you finally actually watch the show, you feel like there's an episode in Dragon Ball Super where there's a Android 17 little mini episodes where they do the poacher episode and they go to space, fight the space poacher. That is pretty much like every episode of GT in the beginning. It's like they're doing these fights against people who are consistently a million times weaker than Goku, even in his kid form. And it's just not an interesting show. Everything about it is just so bad. It lacks everything that Toriyama had initially put into Dragon Ball and Z. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some things in GT that were great. Super Saiyan 4 is an extremely badass looking transformation. It'll always be that way. Seeing Vegeta in that form and Goku in that form and then Gogeta, really cool. Evil Shenron, cool concept. Baby Vegeta, cool concept. Super 17, cool concept. All of these ideas that were implemented, there were some good concepts. But you really can't put a twist on the entire series and suddenly make it good when so much was bad. We're literally saying that 10% of the show would be great and the other 90% was garbage. What do you do with that? You can't build a whole show with that 10%. Maybe you include that 10% into Dragon Ball Super. But Dragon Ball Super, with its flaws and mistakes, is a whole put together show. It's a show that people have, you can re-watch the show. It has replayability as far as watching it goes because there's interest. The concepts are good. Yeah, there's some stuff that doesn't make a lot of sense. There's definitely plot holes, timeline issues, time travel issues. There's issues. The way immortality works, if it's half and half with Goku Black, that's an interesting concept and something that had never been fully explained. But I think that at least there's enough information on it. Oh, well, because he's only half immortal, he can be killed. There's stuff that makes sense. Whereas in GT, it's just like watching, I don't know. You know what? I don't know if I can even say that I'm not a little biased because I really tried to watch GT, and it's been a long time, but it was bad. I wasn't even motivated to watch all the episodes. I never had that problem with Z. Even with filler episodes like Fake Namek, I watched it and was pretty entertained. Goku and like the little dinosaur, Gohan and the little dinosaur episode, Gohan the little robot episode, all these filler episodes were great. Bulma versus the giant crab. I mean, I could watch it. GT, I could not. Because those were episodes sprinkled in. GT's like watching 90% filler and 10% something interesting. GT could have just been an arc. The whole entire show could have been a small arc. And honestly, because it's so not related to Super, trying to put a spin on it, or some people want you to combine the two, and I, for one, have seen people try to combine it on their content creator thing, and I give them a lot of credit because they've done a good job at mixing the two. But really, GT is just something that needs to be kind of let go, or seen as a side project, or maybe, I guess if you want to see it as a side story, go ahead. But how about this? The idea of Super Saiyan 4, the idea of Omega Shenron, there are certain concepts that you could put into the future of Super, and it would work. That's a very fair and realistic concept. Something that I think that people would enjoy to see. It would actually entertain those who are Dragon Ball fans, people who are who enjoy GT, because obviously somebody must have. What if you could have the best parts of GT put in the Super? Because even if you like GT, I don't know anyone who loves GT, but I know some people who like GT. But it's mostly the same thing that's liked by everyone universally. Super Saiyan 4 and some of the villains like Baby Vegeta. Those are things that are entertaining. I don't remember anyone liking Goten's conceptually. Anything about Goten or Gohan's future, or how all the characters were kind of just tossed aside like they're unimportant, including Vegeta, except for when he's Baby Vegeta. I mean, other than that, everyone became pretty much a nobody. It was the Goku show, as it'll always be. But, I mean, my God, at least in Dragon Ball Z, you had Vegeta doing all kinds of stuff on Namek. You had Gohan and Krillin running the show. I mean, Goku was actually nowhere to be found until Frieza and some of the Ginyu Force. Imagine the main character basically being absent from a show, and it works. That's Dragon Ball Z and how it can sometimes flow properly. GT, I don't think you could have an episode without Goku. I think GT was just a real heavy stretch by Toei without Toriyama, and they thought they could do it without the man, and obviously they couldn't. But the point of this whole video is this. I know you guys want this GT spin, but I think you gotta stop wasting the big content creators of this Dragon Ball community. Don't waste their time. They're putting out consistently good videos about Super, Z, and Dragon Ball. And people like Geekdom, a lot of credit to him. They even do GT in depth and give you the full explanation behind it. But why do you want them to waste their time doing a what would you do to fix GT spin? They've got plenty of other stuff like the movie coming out to discuss. It just seems like a waste of everyone's time. But that's, of course, one douchebag's opinion, myself. And I'm certainly not going to push that on everyone. Just thought everyone should have an idea to maybe sit here and think, you know what? GT is just a dead waste. Let's let it go. Let's let it die. I mean, we watched it die. We watched it have its peaks. We watched Super Saiyan 4 Goku, Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, Blunts Waves, whatever. You watched Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. We saw the Ultimate Dragon. I mean, it had its little fun run. It has some episodes that are worth watching. But overall, I mean, let's just let it die the way it should have when Super took over. There's a reason Super came out. Super was its replacement. And I think that we all have to accept that and just try to move forward so we can get more Dragon Ball. and not look back at GT. Anyway, as I said before, this is Jay from the Douchebag Brigade.